It was a Thursday morning, a totally normal Thursday morning. The sun streamed through the big windows of Miss Davison's classroom, making little dust bunnies dance in the air. I slumped in my seat, trying to keep my eyes open. First period was always the worst. History. Yawn.
Miss Davison stood at the front of the room, her clipboard in hand. She always started the day the exact same way, by calling roll. It was a boring, familiar routine, so familiar that I could almost say the names along with her.
My best friend Sam sat next to me, doodling a monster in his notebook. Everything was just as it should be. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Tick, tock, tick, tock.
Miss Davison cleared her throat. "All right, settle down, class." Her voice was like a gentle hum, something you could easily ignore. She started down the list of names, her pen making a little check mark next to each one. Leo Carter?
Here, I mumbled, raising a lazy hand.
Samantha Mendez.
Sam looked up from her drawing. Present, she chirped, way too awake for this early in the morning.
Miss Davison continued down the list. Adams, Baker, Chen, Davis. Each name was followed by a familiar voice. It was the same old song and dance we did every single day. Nothing was out of place, or so I thought.
Then she got to the end of the list. Usually she would put her clipboard down and start the lesson, but today she paused. Her eyes scanned the room, a funny little frown on her face. She looked nervous. Her fingers tapped on the clipboard. Tap, tap, tap. I followed her gaze. It landed on an empty desk in the back corner, a desk that was always empty, the one near the broken radiator that always hissed and gurgled. But today, someone was sitting there, a boy I had never seen before in my entire life. He just sat there, perfectly still, his hands folded on the desk in front of him. Who was he? I blinked, rubbing my eyes. Maybe I was still half asleep. I glanced over at Sam, but she was back to drawing her monster. She hadn't noticed a thing. Nobody had. It was as if this new kid had always been there. He had pale skin and dark hair that fell over his eyes. He wore a plain gray sweatshirt, no logos, no designs, just gray. He wasn't looking at the teacher. He wasn't looking at the students. He was just staring at the blank wall in front of him. A shiver crawled up my spine. It felt like the temperature in the room had suddenly dropped. Something was very, very wrong. Miss Davison took a shaky breath. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the clipboard. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Her eyes darted from the boy in the back to her list, then back to the boy. It was clear she didn't know what to do. The whole class was quiet now, waiting. The usual morning chatter had faded away. Everyone was watching her. But they weren't watching the new kid. They were just watching the teacher, wondering why she had paused for so long. It was just me. I was the only one staring at the strange boy in the corner. He hadn't moved a muscle, not even a twitch.
Finally, Miss Davison spoke. Her voice was thin, almost a whisper. And the transfer? It didn't sound like a real name. It sounded like a label, a description.
The boy in the gray sweatshirt slowly lifted his head. He didn't say here or present. He just nodded once, a slow, deliberate nod. Then his head went back down and he resumed staring at the wall.
Miss Davison quickly looked away as if she was afraid to make eye contact with him. She placed her clipboard on her desk with a soft thud and said, "Okay, class, open your textbooks to page 42. The moment was over. Everyone else seemed to forget it instantly.
But I couldn't forget. Who was the transfer? We hadn't been told about a new student. Usually the principal would make an announcement, the new kid would be introduced, they would look shy and awkward. This was different. This boy wasn't shy or awkward. He was blank, like a page with no words on it. Throughout the entire history lesson, he didn't move. Miss Davison asked questions, but she never called on him. He didn't open his textbook. He didn't take out a pencil or a piece of paper. He just sat there, still and silent, a statue in a gray sweatshirt. It was starting to seriously creep me out. I kept sneaking glances at him. It was hard not to. He was like a black hole in the corner of the room, sucking in all the light and sound. His stillness was unnatural. Kids fidget. They tap their pens. They scratch their noses. They yawn. This kid did none of that. He just existed. A weird, silent presence that nobody else seemed to care about. I wanted to ask Sam what she thought, but I didn't want to take my eyes off him. I was afraid that if I looked away, he might disappear. Or worse, that he might finally look back at me. A cold dread settled in my stomach. The lunch bell screeched and everyone jumped up, chairs scraping against the floor. Freedom. I grabbed my lunch bag and hurried over to Sam's desk. "Did you see that new kid?" I asked, my voice low.
The one in the back? Sam slung her backpack over her shoulder. What new kid? She asked, wrinkling her nose. You mean the transfer? Yeah, I guess. So what? She said it so casually, like I was asking about the weather.
So what? I repeated, my voice rising. He just appeared out of nowhere. Miss Davison looked like she was going to faint, and he didn't do anything all morning. He just stared. I felt like I was going crazy.
Sam laughed. Leo, you're being so dramatic. She patted my shoulder. He's probably just a new student. Maybe his paperwork got lost or something. You're always looking for a mystery where there isn't one.
We walked down the noisy hallway toward the cafeteria. My other friend Maria met us by the doors. I explained the whole thing to her, too. The empty desk, the weird name, the staring.
Maria just shrugged. Sounds a little weird, I guess, she said, but you're overthinking it. He's probably just shy.
It was no use. They didn't see what I saw. To them, he was just a new kid. To me, he was something else entirely. We found our usual table in the corner of the loud, smelly cafeteria, and then I saw him, the transfer. He was sitting alone at a table near the emergency exit. Just like in class, he wasn't doing what everyone else was doing. He had no lunch tray, no brown bag, no carton of milk. He was just sitting there, hands folded on the tabletop, staring straight ahead. His eyes were fixed on the cinder block wall. He didn't seem to notice the chaos of the cafeteria around him. Kids were shouting, laughing, and throwing tater tots. But the transfer sat in his own little bubble of silence. It was bizarre. See? Look at him, I whispered, pointing with my chin.
Sam and Maria glanced over. Okay, that is a little weird, Sam admitted. Maybe he forgot his lunch money.
Maria added. Or maybe he just doesn't like cafeteria food. I don't blame him.
They went back to their pizza and jokes, dismissing it again, but I couldn't let it go. It wasn't just that he wasn't eating. It was the way he sat, the way he stared. It was like he wasn't really there at all. He was like a picture of a boy, a placeholder, a ghost sitting at a lunch table. I could barely eat my sandwich. My stomach was in such a tight knot. Later that day, I was in the AV club room with my friend Alex. Alex was the president of the club and a tech genius. He was in charge of all the school's video equipment, including the security cameras. I was supposed to be helping him log footage, but I couldn't focus. All I could think about was the transfer.
You seem distracted, Alex said, not looking up from his monitor. He was rewinding the footage from the main hallway this morning.
I told him everything. Alex was different from Sam and Maria. He loved weird stuff. He listened intently, his fingers pausing on the keyboard.
A mystery transfer student, he said, a grin spreading across his face. I like it.
It's not a joke, Alex, I said. There's something really strange about him.
Alex spun around in his chair. Strange is my middle name, he said. Let's check the tapes. We have a camera in Miss Davison's room. We can see exactly when your transfer showed up. He clicked and typed, his fingers flying across the keys. He pulled up the footage from first period. We watched in fast forward as students filed into the room. There was Sam. There was me. The desk in the back corner was empty. Alex slowed the video down to normal speed as Miss Davison picked up her clipboard. The desk was still empty.
Wait, go back, I said.
Alex rewound it. We watched again. One frame, the desk was empty. The very next frame, the boy was just there. He hadn't walked in. He hadn't ducked under the camera's view. He just appeared. Whoa, Alex breathed, leaning closer to the screen. Okay, that's not normal. He zoomed in on the boy's face. The image was grainy, but you could see him clearly. He was sitting perfectly still, staring at the wall just as I remembered. Alex scrolled through the footage of the entire class period. The boy never wrote, never read, never moved. He was a statue. This is officially creepy, Alex muttered. Then he stopped. He froze the footage on a random moment about halfway through the lesson. He zoomed in again, this time on the transfer's head. Leo, Alex said, his voice quiet. Look at this.
I leaned in. In the video, the boy's body was facing the front of the room, but his head was turned slightly. He wasn't staring at the wall, and he wasn't staring at the teacher. In the grainy black and white security footage, the boy they called the transfer was staring directly into the camera lens, a cold, empty stare, as if he knew we were watching him right now.